So today's knife exists, of course, in the form of a folder, but there is also a fixed version available as well, and you guys are not going to believe the size difference. Hey, I'm Jay, and if you're looking to buy a knife and you need to see what it's like first before you drop your hard-earned money on it, here's what you got to do. Click on subscribe so I can help you, and remember to click that bell notification so you don't miss a thing. You should be looking at the specs right now, and I had personally measured all of these myself. And as usual, we will go ahead and take a look at what I like about this and some of the potential deal breakers that I see for this Boker Plus CFM-A1. Yep, that is the name of it. But first, why don't we go ahead and take care of some of those size comparisons. What do you say? So first one is going to be, of course, the cold steel American Lawman. How about a Spyderco Manix 2? Let's stick with the Spyderco theme and bring out the Paramilitary 2. Let's do a Benchmade. We got to get a Benchmade in there, of course, the bug out. And let's do one more. That should probably take care of it. The ZT-0456. The CFM-A1 is a DJ Urbanovsky design in his custom shop that's named American Kami. And like I said earlier, it is in fact a folding version of this guy, the Boker Plus Colubris. And before anybody asks, yes, today's Band-Aid was made possible by a roll of masking tape. So let's start with the blade on the CFM-A1, which happens to be just a really uniquely designed, good looking modified Wharncliffe. And it is flat ground with a grainy stonewash finish, and I absolutely love this blade profile. The width of it, 1.5 inches. That is a wide blade. Thickness is going to be right at 3.5 millimeters. It looks like the sharpening choil, if you guys can see that, has been very well executed by Boker. Now this is, of course, just going to be the flipper deployment, and as you can see, the action is really good. And the best way to deploy this is going to be the push button technique. I've tried it light switch. Let me see if I can get it. Yeah, but clearly, yeah, the push button works way better. And the blade is riding on, it's going to be a ball bearing pivot, and also that really strong detent also helps that action. You cannot, I mean, I'm holding this upside down and I am unable to shake that loose. And that's rather impressive when you consider just the massive size of this blade, yet the detent can still keep it in place. Now, for those of you lefties out there, since this is a frame lock, it can tolerate lock bar pressure during deployment, so that's nice. Now, once opened, the CFM-A1, it looks like it's, at least my example here, is locking up well, I consider it a little bit late at about, what do you guys think, about 50%? Now, this will kind of falls shut, you know, because of the ball bearing pivot and because of the weight of just the blade alone. You still do have to give it just a little bit of shake and bake, but you are able to get it to close. If we check out the centering, yeah, that looks pretty good. That looks really good. Now you can also, those of you that enjoy doing that, you know, that thumbnail closure where you like you have the flipper kind of hit the top of your nail, like that deal, and then boop, shaker closed. Yeah, so that works just fine. Why don't we talk about the handle and these scales, G10, and then on the flip side is going to be stainless steel. Now both scales also have this, let me bring it a little bit closer, this milled pattern on both sides. Ooh, yeah, that's gonna probably trap a lot of crud from your hands and stuff, but, well, we'll have to see. But it does, in fact, provide some really, really great traction. The handle is very, very comfortable. No sharp edges anywhere. And as you can see, I wear a medium-sized glove and I can fit all 4 of my fingers. Absolutely no trouble at all. I really, really like, so you see here this peak, right there, right there, let me use my thumb. That peak that separates the finger grooves, it is really, really well positioned, because a lot of times you will find that peak more like in the center, and at least for me, that makes my ring finger actually kind of uncomfortable because it's sitting right on top of that peak. But the way that this handle is designed, you can see it really does separate your fingers. So 2 up here and then 2 down here. And that feels really, really nice in there. But I think that looks a lot better than a backspacer. Now, unfortunately, we do have to get into some of the potential deal breakers. Before we do, I just want to quickly remind you guys, go ahead and click on that subscribe button if you're looking for knife reviews that get right to the point. Now, just to be clear, these are not all deal breakers that I personally have experienced. They're just, some of them are and some of them are not, that I could see might be problems for others. We're going to start with the closed width. So as you can imagine, yeah, the closed width is absolutely enormous. So measured across at the widest point, you get 1.79 inches. Wow. You will definitely know that you're carrying this knife. And now, to put that into perspective for you, Spyderco Manix 2, which is a notorious chubster in the pocket, 1.66. And this one beats it. That is just unbelievable. And it's, you know what, it's kind of too bad that it is as wide, this wide in your pocket, because the handle thickness is actually really, really good at 0.46. So relatively thin considering the pocket clip. Now I like how the pocket clip looks, and it works fantastically, but unfortunately it leaves too much, for me anyway, it leaves way too much, just kind of too much handle hanging there out of the pocket. And it's only a 1-position clip. So unfortunately, let's see, it's going to be, yeah, just tip up, and that is no lefty, just for righties only. The flipper is huge. This is a, I mean, and I get it kind of has to be. I mean, I get that. But it is extremely large, and especially once the blade is open, I mean, then you can really see the true size of it. And yeah, it's quite large. And I almost wish that they would have gone with maybe, I don't know, thumb holes or thumb studs, just because I always appreciate when you have a knife and you can get most of the sharpened edge to make contact on a flat surface. But my goodness, because of the size of this flipper, do you know what I mean? You're only going to be getting just a small portion of the sharpened edge on whatever you're cutting. So I really think a different kind of deployment option might have been a little better for this. Did you guys happen to notice the pivot screw? Yeah, it's one of those pass-through deals. It kind of bugs me a little bit now, because I had to actually go and like dig out my Torx number 15. Yes, that's a T15 bit to be able to adjust the pivot. At first, I was a little nervous that I did not even own a Torx bit that large. But so I did eventually find it. Again, it's not a huge deal, but it's just more, it's more annoying than anything else. And I'm pretty sure you could also use like an Allen key in there. The forward choil, or I should say, well, lack thereof, I really think that a forward choil would have worked nicely on this, especially considering the size of the knife. To be able to choke up just a little bit would be great. We got to talk about the weight, but I want to grab the scale so you guys can see this. Now, before I go ahead and toss this up on the scale, I want to try and show you. Oop. Let's do it this way, Jay. Yeah, it looks like they did. There is just a little bit of milled out sections in there, so they did try to skeletonize it in an effort to reduce the weight just a little bit. But let's see how they did. Yeah, that's about 5.4 ounces, which is going to be roughly the equivalent of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 AA batteries, or the combined weight of a PM2 and Benchmade bug out. And the last potential deal breaker is going to be the price. Now, for 14C 28N blade steel, G10 on one side, stainless steel on the other, 70 bucks. Yeah, $70 is what Boker Plus is asking for. I'm going to go ahead and just lay this. Let's do it this way. I'm going to put the fixed blade down on the bottom, and then we will put the folder on top. And you can see, hopefully, that the handle of the fixed blade is exactly the same size as the folder. The blade on the fixed blade is just a little bit large. I mean, it is not much larger at all. This is too big. It's too darn big. I mean, this should not be the same size as the fixed version. It just shouldn't. And you know, and if you don't agree with that, that's fine. Let me know. Let's talk about it in the comments section. It really is. It's a really good looking uniquely designed knife that it's too big and it costs too much money. I mean, get rid of the darn pass-through pivot and, you know, get rid of the decorative milling and lower the darn price. I could live without that stuff. But it is just, I really, really like this blade. And I did actually, I watched an interview with the designer, DJ Urbanovsky, and someone asked him, you know, DJ, what's with this blade shape? And he said something to the effect of, well, you know, since the perfect knife does not exist, which he's exactly right about that, his thinking was to make a blade that was as close to perfection as possible. And what I mean by perfection is being able to be used in pretty much any task. And so that was his inspiration for the blade design. And this is just not a practical EDC. No matter how much I like this, I will never carry this in my pocket.